Welcome everybody. This is UK National Master Cengiz Hasman from Cyprus, and this is my new video, how to draw against another Russian Grandmaster. Today's opponent is Grandmaster Mikhail Ivanov from Russia, rated 2399 ELO at the time. And this was played in November 2017 in Novi Sad, Serbia. And this was actually my first International Master Norm tournament, and I didn't do badly. I definitely did better than my second attempt at a Norm tournament. I won't mention that yet. Let's start with the game. So I was white and Grandmaster Ivanov was black. I played my usual d4, and as my opponent was about 250 points higher than me, he wanted to confuse me from the opening, and he played g6. I played like some solid knight f3 move, taking out some variations that he could play. Bishop g7, c4, c5, d5, and now we get this very interesting f5 move, and this is actually called the Clarendon Court Defense, invented by Grandmaster John Levitt, whom was actually a former teammate in the London League at when I used to play in the London League. And this defense combines ideas of the modern Benoni and the Leningrad Dutch. So I did have to be careful. I'm just playing positionally, playing some solid stuff, not taking any risks, not at the moment. And I go for this reliable kingside fianchetto with g3. I wasn't afraid of black playing knight b4 here. I would have probably played queen b1 or queen b3, but I would then have this a3 resource, which would make black lose a move. So it wasn't anything that scared me. He played knight c7 anyway, not going for the knight b4, wanting to play bishop d7, a6, and rook b8, expanding on the queen side. I mean, I wanted to expand too with rook b1, but I did really want to stop him from playing his b5. So now my opponent wants to stop my b4, my expansion on the queen side. And you may want to pause the video here and think what you would play. It's not a spectacular move on my part, but I was happy with it. So if you like, pause the video. What would you play in this position? I played the lovely and pleasant knight b5. Why is it lovely and pleasant? Because it's just quite simply threatening to take the a7 pawn. And my opponent didn't really want to play queen b6. There might be ideas of bishop d2 and a5, removing the queen as a defender of the a7 pawn. So he probably didn't enjoy playing rook a8. So it means the rook has moved to b8, it's now moving back, and the knight on b5 is in a really good square. So I was happy here. And knight e1, aiming to reroute this knight. Ideas on knight d3, and we will see, like especially in the next move I played. g5, expanding on the king side, just like in the Leningrad Dutch. And now, one of the reasons I played knight e1 was to play f4. And I want to limit him on the king side as much as I can. And he just pushed forward, so he's controlling some extra squares on the king side, on my king side. And now knight d3. So h5, coming forward, ideas of h4. And I do like this nice little maneuver, knight e1, knight d3, knight f2. It bolsters my king side. It threatens to play e4 at the right time. So things aren't going badly for me. And now h4, and I do remember from a lesson I had from a grandmaster that sometimes you just have to take these pawns, because I do like keeping my pawn structure intact. I mean, f4, g3, h2 is very nice, but h3 will probably be uncomfortable for me. He might take on g3. So I just thought it was the right time to take. And I do clear the third rank for my queen. And now his queen is coming up to try and take that h4 pawn, developing my bishop. And yes, now he's actually threatening h4. And I thought it was appropriate to play e4 here. That idea is very important from white's point of view. Queen takes h4, which was expected. I could have played e5 in this position, but I just thought, well, that this e7 pawn is quite weak, which is one of the problems in this structure Black has played. So I just played the nice positional rook b e1. I can threaten to take at the right time, push e5 at the right time. So giving him a few things to think about, really. Knight h5, threatening to take on f4. And this is a move you don't really want to make, but sometimes you feel that you have to. And knight h1. We don't want our knights to be in the corner usually, and like I played in the game, you need to try to keep them in the corners for as short a time as possible. Otherwise, as you can see, this knight on h1 is only controlling two squares, f2 and g3, so it would not definitely be at its best in the corner. Knight b4, trying to include his knight into an attack, possible attack. Knight g3, developing that really bad knight. And of course, knight h1 enabled me to protect this f4 pawn, because before playing it, it was only my bishop protecting it, and I did want to play this maneuver. So trying to kick out my effective knight on b5. I took his knight because if you just look at this position, compare the two knights, even though they're both on the sides, well, this is in the corner, but this knight is obviously an offensive knight, this is defensive, so if I can exchange my defensive knight for his offensive knight, then I have achieved something, which is why I played knight h5. And now, nice little move, knight c7, attacking the rook, ideas of knight e6, rook a7, maybe he might play b6 or b5 to threaten this knight. And now I decided I would take on that f5 instead of going for something like e5, which was tempting, which was also tempting. He gives me a check, I block, he comes back, and now he's protecting this weakness, this e7 weakness I mentioned a little bit earlier. And it's important to guard your weaknesses in chess. And now I played this knight e6, which is protected by two pawns. It's in my opponent's area, and this knight is really, really strong. And funny enough, the Russians have a concept for this, and so it was interesting to play this concept of the knight being protected by two pawns in the opponent's area. To play this against a Russian Grandmaster was very well, fun indeed, to be honest. So my h2 pawn was under attack from the queen and rook, so my queen comes and guards it. And now a tactical move, knight d3. So you may want to think, why can't I simply just take this knight d3? And you can pause to have to think about it. And the answer would be, if I do take it, I just run into checkmate. Not a happy ending for me at all. So obviously I shouldn't take this knight. My rook's under attack, but I start to play aggressively too. Knight g5, threatening that h7 rook. So if my rook on e1 is taken, I take his. He moves it out of harm's way, and I could have played actually bishop e4, a nice positional move which would defend this f5 pawn. Even though it gives the exchange, it does really restrict this white squared bishop. There's always this hold. If the bishop doesn't take on g5, this knight can go back here again. So that was a good little opportunity for me. I just want to point out, just going back to move 28, I played this bishop f2 move. However, if I had actually played bishop e4, this would have given me about a +2 advantage against a seasoned Russian Grandmaster. Which could have possibly led to me winning the game, to be honest, because as you can see, these pieces are really strong. This g4 pawn does look weak. These bishops are doing a good job. I mean, they can obviously get better if the game opens up, but the rook on a7 is not doing well. bishop on c7. At the moment seems like it has to really take on e6 at some point. So yeah, then on move 29, instead of bishop f2, I should have played bishop e4, but I was starting to get short of time, and I was a bit concerned about my king side. So anyway, let's continue. Rook e2, knight takes f2. Now finally this bishop comes into play, like it's his first move on move 33. And I come for an exchange. If this is exchanged, the white squares are going to be really weak, and which will probably mean black would need to take on the g5 knight. Anyway, he didn't go for this. I move my king out of the way. b5, knight e6. Here, instead of bishop c4, my opponent should have played bishop h4 with a skewer. Anyway, I'm ganging up on that g4 pawn. He can't take, you can think why he can't take if you like. And the answer would be queen g8 checkmate. So tactical move by me. Trying to include the rook in the game. I take that pawn, move my knight back. Some queens are exchanged off. And again, this e6 square is really like the ace in my position, really. And both of us were very short of time here. And when my opponent offered me a draw, I did take it. I had been playing for a win, but in this position, I thought it was the practical thing to do, to draw against a Grandmaster, win some ELO points, and not lose the game. So thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.